Right, let's just do the head-to-head then. So we can just do Fnatic versus XL. Like, obviously, I think what's interesting is you've made your case pretty clear. You think stylistically you're going to take XL to win this, right? Dom, you said earlier you might. I get the vibe you are just going to pick Fnatic to win this. And the problem is, Dom, I think maybe I'm in the middle, so I'll set my case up first. The problem is basically this. If this was like a fucking actual chess game where you just sit and just think for as long as you want and make the correct move, I'm with Jensen here. XL wins all day long, especially against Fnatic, by the way. A team that if it's a chess game, they don't know what they're doing. They would be terrible at chess. They would actually probably be the worst team in the playoffs at chess. They're appalling. It wouldn't even matter, by the way. The joke is on their chessboard, they've got like 3 queens, like 7 bishops. Like, they don't even have just pawns and that, like, but they're that bad at knowing how to play chess. They would be terrible, right? But the problem is this. In the game, and this is another area where I have to unfortunately refer to my experience in CSGO as an analyst, another thing you have to shade in is factors like pressure. Is there a crowd? Has this person ever had experience in these circumstances? And unfortunately, a lot of those factors, a lot of them are intangible, a lot of them even potentially narrative-based. They all actually go towards Fnatic. I'm sorry, they just do. Like, on the XL side, they aren't guys who've been here before. They aren't guys who've done it before. They aren't guys who've won playoff series. These are people generally, there's obviously a couple of them otherwise, but generally these are people where this is the peak of their career, actually. This is like the best run they've ever had in their entire life. Like, actually, sadly, I'll even add this factor in. It's a depressing factor if you somebody who just watches League and wants the best player to win. I would even guarantee you the reason why Fnatic particularly is a nightmare matchup, like this would be way better for XL if this was Vitality or someone they were playing. The reason Fnatic particularly is a nightmare matchup is because me and you might watch the games and go, look, I could take the nameplate off and go, Humanoid's playing terribly. They don't do that though. When they load in the game, they see the name Humanoid, and if they're getting torched by this guy at a scrim or they remember what he was like in the past, that matters for something. That counts for something. And I've found when you're the lower status player and the player without experience and the player who hasn't done it yet, there's 2 ways it goes. Either you're going to be the next Humanoid, so you just go fuck the old school guy and beat him straight up, or you actually, it takes you a while to get over that hump. The best example ever, by the way, is probably that Rogue core, because do you know how many fucking splits it took them to ever beat G2 just in BO1s and then in a series? It took them way longer than before they got to the top of the LEC. They were like number 1 all these splits. They were all like getting deep in the play, but you knew if they played G2, these intangible factors would instantly come in, no matter the form of the 2 teams. So my problem is, unfortunately, I actually come down to thinking that even though I don't know how they are going to do it, I can't even conceive of 3 Fnatic wins in a best of 5. I feel like just their player strength plus all those psychological components actually give them the edge in the series.
Well,
Tom, where are you at?
I think it's hard because I think XL actually stylistically counters Fnatic.
Yeah, I'd agree with him on that. I think he's got a good point.
I mean, when I think of like how, because I mean, Fnatic is the worst team at trying to like set up a Drake. If you say, what does set up a Drake mean? It means that Razor's just going to walk in a minute before an int alone, or like Killy's just going to get caught. That's what setting up a Drake is for this team. So it's really tough because if you watch the game from an analytical perspective, it should be actually impossible for Fnatic to win. I think that in terms of what they do as a team, I don't really know how Fnatic could win. But you just have this feeling when you watch like enough LEC where you don't actually value strategy that much because it feels like everyone just starts like shitting the bed and like pissing themselves once things get like tough. So I don't know. I don't have any good reasons why I think Fnatic would win besides for I think that they just have like better players. Like what you're
saying actually is almost a reason though. I'll let me take a crack at it and tell me if this is what you're saying. Basically, because the same concept exists in CS, by the way. The principle I do is this: if I think the game will be played according to how both plans played, it's just an interaction, then the superior team, like stylistically, usually wins. But if the game will break down into a mess, so in Counter-Strike we just call it a DM. It just becomes just shooting people. I'll take the better players, mate. I'll just take the better players all day long. The guys with the better aim, they will win the game. So in the same sense, if this is just going to be a bunch of shit, scrap, skirmishes all over the place and fights, I'll take Upset, Humanoid, Wonder over Finn, fucking Patrick Nuked. I'm sorry, I just will. Like that, that's an easy pick for me.
I actually have like a list of things I've written down. If I'm Yamato Cannon, if I'm prepping for Fnatic, these are the kind of bandits I'm looking at, right?
Okay, wait. So can I guess? Can I guess a couple?
Go for it.
All right, let me try guessing. So you're gonna say like ban Draven Callista? Is that one? Taking away aggressive AD carries so that you can play around bot side, like you can get a more scaling matchup. You can enable Upset to play something like Azeri.
Yeah, I mean, Zeri is definitely the number one thing on the list, right? Zeri plus bot gap,
Okay.
right? Zeri plus
Yeah.
bot gap, and then the other angle, where I think that they can kind of come up on top is to abuse the other player that you guys keep talking about,
Finn.
right?
That's
Finn.
the Wonder angle,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yep.
and Wonder would probably have to either put out some interesting pick, or there's
Gwen.
3 champions.
Well, there's
Gwen,
another thing.
right?
Just
Gwen is
history
one.
tells us, by the way, if this is a 4BO5, there's going to be at least one game, Wonder, like, first time some shot, or brings out some, like, ridiculous pick that isn't even top lane. He's going to do it one game for sure. And by the way, the perfect team to do it against is probably Finn and XL.
Yeah.
Perfect. Go on, keep going, mate. Keep going.
Okay.
Right? And this has to be a pick that has to be able to deal with Nuke Duck on the side lane, right? So if Nuke Duck wants to be greedy, he's doing all these things on the side lane, he has to be constantly afraid of Wonder just jumping him. It might even be Akshan, right? I've written on 3 champions, right? Camille, Gwen,
There's
and
one, yes.
Akshan with a question mark. And this new Renekton build with the Blur of the Ruin King, I think it's possible, and this is something that I think other teams might use against XL, but I don't think Fnatic can pull off the Renekton, right?
I think it would be the other way.
Decent.
Wouldn't you say it would be the other way? Because when I look at what you're saying, I think that's a champion that Finn should be playing. I think Finn should be the one that's pulling out the Renekton and trying to like have an ability to lock Wonder in the lane. Like he like as long as Finn is relevant at some point in the game, they should be able to work around him after lane phase. I feel like Finn's role in team fights actually is not that important. I just think that he needs to stabilize the top side of the map for the first 15 minutes so that they can do all the shit that XL wants to do, which is like first Herald. Like they want to rotate up there at like 8 minutes and have him not completely worthless in that fight. I feel like that's a really important pick. So the way that I
agree with you. I agree with you on that. I think Renekton's great for Finn as well. So if it goes to like a 5th game or something, then we might see it as a contested pick. But I think I'm going down a little bit too deep down the rabbit hole with regards to like, imagine like talking about Renekton where in a format where everybody's talking about Zeri's the Kingpin and everybody's going for these scaling team fight setups, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible, but it's why I was thinking like Gwen, especially Camille and like Akshan, this has to be something where Nuke Duck has to be constantly afraid if I don't see this guy, if I don't have perfect vision set up, it's difficult for him to go for the extra wave to create the deep push in the side lane.
Yep. I mean,
and the third angle. Sorry, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah,
no, sure.
Do the third one. Go on.
The third angle is Ashe support, right? Because I think Ashe support is something that will stopgap a lot of the issues that Fnatic might have against XL, where the Hawkshot is basically a free map hack. You get to see how the map movements where you can then be more decisive in terms of like how you want to move around the map, and it's going to compensate a lot for spotting things out to protect Humanoid and protect Wonder in the soul lanes as well, who are definitely going to come under very heavy fire in this series with the way that XL plays.
I mean, I think the issue with that is, I mean, as far as what Ashe support is playable to, it's like pretty much just enchanters and Renata. You know, like that's pretty much like the only champions I could see it being pulled out into. And I think my issue with that is like what enchanters will Mickey X play besides for Yuumi, which I don't think you want to like let Yuumi up at all in Europe. I think in Europe, ban Yuumi every fucking game. The way you have to deal with Yuumi is just not conducive to how LEC wants to play right now. So I think that it's hard to get a good Ashe angle unless you're leaving up maybe Kalista and then you play into like Kalista Renata and then you try to like Ashe support plus X into it, Ashe support plus whatever AD you think could actually deal with the Kalista. I think that's maybe an angle, but outside of that, I just don't know how you can work an Ashe support in. Like, what do you think about potential matchups for the Ashe support? Like, what do you think that Mickey X would play that would enable Hillsong to be able to play Ashe support?
Oh, I haven't gone that far down the rabbit hole, you know. It's just I thought that if they do Kalista, Renata, then Ashe support is like you mentioned. That's
right,
the most.
Dom, give me your take then. What's your take on this series?
Well, I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more I want to say XL, but like...
Go on, do it then. Do it. Go for it.
No, I'm just...
If he's convinced, yeah.
I mean, everything that he says makes sense. I think that this is a smart take on it. I just don't believe that XL will not just break down at some point.
Basically, my XL's like fucking roguelite for me. The problem is I can't eat, like, put it this way, there's been times for Rogue, it was the same thing, like, fuck, they should technically win this, like, the team they are playing is not as good macro, but like, I always go with my gut, mate, and if I ever have a feeling, I get it for both XL and Rogue, if I ever have that feeling, like, you're going to be the motherfucker who chokes this one, aren't you? I'm out on those people immediately. Like, I can't take it. I can't take it when that happens. So, and just
I
as a
feel like
general
that with
rule,
Finn.
I go out on people like that. Exactly. So, and the other thing I'll say is this: I've got one last take on this. Basically, here's the reason why I think Fnatic will win. Aside from what we've said thus far, I think even player-wise, there's literally angles where I think in the series they're just going to get the better of them. So, as I said, the Wunder one already. First of all, Wunder's actually fine. I don't really know in that sense why they even picked the Jarvan. He was playing fine with the meta of the top lane. I don't even think he needed to fuck around with that. But whatever, that is Wunder. But the difference is when he does that, he can do that sort of shit against someone like Finn and actually make him really uncomfortable, make it a fucking nightmare game where you haven't played against that pick or you don't know that the draft's going to be like that. And as I said, Finn's champion pool is just evaporated to nothing because we've gone to tanks. Then I've got to look at the angle of like, look, I actually agree, as you can see, I have a bit of a bias towards Nuke Duck anyway. I agree with a lot of things that you said. The problem is this is pure copium. But I have to have this copium because otherwise I'm already being about as disrespectful to humanoids as I can. And spoiler, if he hints these playoffs, I am going to go about 10 times worse than I went on Reckless on this motherfucker. Because I've been told this guy is the greatest like modern League of Legends player. He's like levels above people like Larson. Like you shouldn't ever compare. And then I've just watched this whole fucking year and it's like these are some of the most like fucking like irresponsible games I've ever seen from a superstar that was signed to a massive team and had a super team built around him. Like this is crazy. So the problem is, basically, I know it's mad, but part of me still won't let me believe he's actually going to play like that in the playoffs as well. If he does, by the way, I'm not joking, I will make a video that he should be fired from his job even if they go to Worlds. If he plays the way he did, I'll do it. I don't give a fuck, mate. I'm the one guy who might do it, and I'll do it. So, and by the way, I don't even give a fuck if then say some shit. Say what you want, mate. You dog shit at the game League of Legends. I watch it. Sadly, I'm paid to watch you be shit at the game of League of Legends at the moment. So, guess what? I don't want to be paid for that anymore. Mainly by you not playing League of Legends. So, there's that already. I have to believe he's going to have some good games and he's not just going to fucking hit it all the time. And then the last detail is this. The one part I've never been in on in XL, I've always thought this was fucking hopium from everyone who loves XL, is who the fuck is this player Patrick they tell me about, mate? I've never seen the player they tell me about in the server. I've always thought this is who Patrick is. He's always either bang average ADC and LEC, or he has a team or a split where he's like above average. But I don't think he's ever been the best. I don't think he was even close. I think maybe like in his best splits ever, maybe he was like the third best ADC. But mate, I have to watch these games and then I'm watching him. And even when he has the comp and the champion for it, like if the whole team plays well, like a normal ADC, he will carry the team fight. Dude, people talk like this guy's like fucking Uzi I or something. Like it's mental. They talk like he can just hard carry games. Like what games? So what happens is this, right? I watch him play and then I'm like, I mean, he's doing a good job for ADC. It's nothing crazy. Then I watch like Upset play and people are like, he's just pure trash. He can't even play ADC. And I'm like, how can these be the same? What the fuck is this? Like, what? There's no way that you think one's up here and one's down here. Like, what eye test is this? Like, so that's the one problem I have. It's like we've talked about it in the past episodes, but basically, Jensen, the biggest problem I think actually that they have on XL is they don't have one of the traditional carry positions who I can envision being the MVP of the playoffs. I can't see like is Nuke Duck gonna? Are you ready? Are you ever gonna hear this sentence? Like an XL wins LEC summer. Nuke Duck carried the whole playoffs. Like it's not gonna happen. There's no universe that happens. So that's my problem as well. It's like collectively I just can't in good faith, but I know it's mad because I'm not picking things that are real for Fnatic, but I'm essentially voting against XL, I guess. There we go. I'm voting against XL.
I'm very biased towards Marcoon. I think Marcoon could be the player where you're like, damn, this guy's like the next like El Yoya or something. Like I really think that guy is really good, but it just I mean when I look at the other players, I mean especially I just think about when was the last time that you saw, besides for this game versus Vitality, the tiebreak that was pretty tame. I mean, both teams are just super scared. I think about how does XL look under any amount of pressure? And then I think about that Vitality series that they played in spring, and I think about that game 5, and it's like, ooh, that is not a good image to have. So, I mean, I'm gonna go Fnatic 3. Like, if you want me to do a prediction, I know you're trying to get a prediction out of me. Fnatic 3-2, and I think it's going to be an ugly fucking series. It's going to be a series where, like, at the end, you're going to look at the Reddit thread, and everyone's just going to be flaming both teams. How disgusting is it that these teams, like, I wish that we only had 3 seeds so we don't have to see either of these dog shit teams. That's my prediction.
I also do appreciate, by the way, because as you pointed out there, that is how bad fans of this video game are. The same time that we're all like, every region should have more slots, the first thing we do is use the slots against the teams who don't like, I wish there wasn't even ability for you to go to Worlds. You make me sick. Like, we're all just actual fucking twats in this game. It's so fucked.
I'm so fucking LPL'd at this point. I'm so LPL pilled that I'm like, I literally think that like 6 slots could win LEC. When I look at LPL, when I look at Weibo, even with them inting half their games, I think they would be an LEC champion.
Yeah.
I'm like to the point where I'm like, hey, I would need to see these teams beat OMG before I'm getting like, OMG just placed 9th, 10th in LPL. I need to see an LEC or an LCS team play against them and beat them before I'm gonna say that they're just.
Here's the sad thing though, Dom's right, but he didn't nail it the way you're supposed to. As LS taught us, what you're supposed to say is OMG in the LPL would beat G2 in a best of 5. That's what you're supposed to say. If you say that line, by the way, instantly the Reddit thread, you see what happened back in the day.
I don't think that they would. But if there was no bans, no, this is what it is. If there was no draft phase, if they actually were not able to ban out OMG's like fucking
like a blind pick or something.
Yeah, if it was a blind pick and like you had to play against like Akali, Samira, Rumble, like all of the main OMG champions, I think that then OMG would win. But with the draft phase, I think they would just do what FPX did versus them today and be like, we don't give a fuck about meta. We are banning 5 of your champs. You can have Yumi, you can have whatever the fuck you want, as long as you are not playing Rumble, Akali, Silas, like Samira, whatever. We're just gonna win. So I don't know. It's tough for me, but when you look at it, I can't. This Fnatic team, after they just had a pretty good week by their standards, like they won what? Like they won all the games they prepped for. Then they had the tiebreak versus Misfits, and they ended up giving over Yumi. They probably would have won that game if they weren't playing against a Yumi. I just think the Fnatic is probably on. They're less depressed than they were before, and they can probably be in a good enough mental state they can at least beat XL. Like I'm not saying that they're good. I can at least beat XL.
That reminds me of something as well, right? I've done my best because of how fucking shit some of these like key players like Hylissang and Humanoid have been for the eye test of the game. Like they're just fucking up the game in the first 5 minutes every game, right? I've tried to avoid on this show making much of it like critique of Yamato's drafts, but like when the draft in that tiebreaker was almost like he was like, right, I think actually we figured out how you beat Misfits using draft only. Let's just double check though. Shit, yeah, that was it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just did it this week. You just broke the draft strategy. You showed that they could only do that. And you were like, actually, give them those strengths back again. Let's see what happens. Fuck, they won. Yeah, I should probably just ban that every time. Yeah, I'll ban it every time. Okay, right. Make a note of that. Ban.
They gave them Yumi on 4-5.
That's what I mean. I know. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.